Welcome back to Action for the Soul. This week's Parshat Tazria Tzaraat, long Parsha, so much to unpack. Excuse me. Parsha begins with talking about the idea of a Tazria, about a woman who gives birth, and the laws of Tumah and Hara, and then of purity and impurity, and then goes into this concept of Tzaraat. It says, Adam ki yeh ba'or basro se'et o safachat o baheret. A man who sees a seis or a sapachat or baheret. These are different types of skin conditions. The huva el Aaron HaKohen. He's got to come and bring it to the Aaron HaKohen. So when we talk about Tzaraat, we often make the mistake in thinking that the rabbis are talking about leprosy. This is not a case of leprosy over here. We're talking about something very different. When you have a medical condition, you're not asked to come to the local rabbi. The local rabbis will actually tell you to go see a good doctor. And over here, this is Tzaraat is a spiritual malady. As a matter of fact, the word Tzaraat is often mistranslated as the word as leprosy, when in reality, the word tsaras probably is more associated with the word psoriasis, like psoriasis. And therefore, there are three conditions that are of spiritual nature. The way in which you get this thing called Tzaraat is by speaking Lashon Hara. There's three aspects to this. This first, you get it on the skin, right? And then it's on the clothing, this malady, this white condition, and then you can get it on your house. And each one is caused by something different. Tzaraat is caused specifically by evil speech. When you get Tzaraat on your clothing, it comes from something called gaavah, from being haughty. And when you get it on your house, it is also this extension of this concept of you wanting too much gashmiyut, of being too steeped in the pursuit of materialism. So these were three spiritual maladies that would happen to a person when you lost your way, okay? There was an immediate reaction, like a skin condition. Jews are spiritually allergic to practices that defile their souls. So God created this thing way back when, and you'd go to the priest, he would look at it and determine, based on the skin condition, color, if it was this spiritual malady. Just so you understand, this is something you could have easily scratched off and walked away, and it didn't leave a mark. This was a way of God communicating directly with humanity and saying, hey, I want you to focus more deeply in being individuals that use words that heal and not use words that break or words that hurt. There are two stories that I want to share today. But before I do, just so you understand that, we know that the Torah is filled with places, Zot Torah HaMetzorah. It says that very clearly, this is the Torah of the Metzorah, of this person that has this psoriasis or leprosy. And it says it 5 times. You see the word Zot Torah related to Metzorah. The Chachamim point that these 5 expressions of Zot Torah Metzorah is an expression of, or a connection to the 5 books of Moses. That in each one of the 5 books, and the truth is, if you actually look through the 5 books of Moses, in each one of the books, you will find one story of someone that is dealing with evil speech. In Genesis, you have it a few times, even back at the Garden of Eden. In Exodus, you have it. You have it in Leviticus. You have it in Bamidbar and Devarim. Each one of the books, there are stories, and I don't want to do that today, but you can find them in all books that are dealing with Tzaraat. So the question is why? Why is evil speech, or Lashon Hara, so fraught, so woven into the stories of the Bible? Now, Maimonides says that evil speech is the worst sin that anyone can be involved in. Sounds extreme, like I could think of other things. So this is a quote from Hilchot Deot Maimonides. He says, the sages said, there are 3 transgressions which a person is punished in this world and has no share in the world to come. 1 is idolatry. Number 2 is illicit relations. Number 3 is murder, bloodshed. And evil speech, Maimonides says, is as bad as all 3 combined. They also said, whoever speaks with an evil tongue, it's as if he denied God. Evil speech, Maimonides says, kills 3 people. The one who says it, the one who accepts it, and the one about whom it is being said. Okay, this is a powerful thing, evil speech, right? Now, there's so many examples of this. I want to tell a story of this. Like I know, for Jews today, if you're watching this 2025 or in May, So much has happened since October 7th of 2023, almost 2 years into this whole nonsense of the world going crazy. You're listening on the internet, there's so much hate. This past week we had, on Sunday, there were protesters out of Shari Tzion in Brooklyn, and you had protesters in New Jersey and here and there, people saying all kinds of things about Jews. The anti-Semitism on the internet is insane. Evil speech is real. We're sensitive to it. Now, I'm not saying you can't criticize. I'm not saying you can't point out failings or where people are doing things wrong. We should, but we got to make sure that whatever we're sharing is in fact true. Now, even evil speech, if it is true, it could still be evil speech. Sharing things that have no purpose other than just sharing evil, sharing negative comments is also a problem. But I'm going to give you two stories. One is more recent, and then we'll go back to one that happened 800 years ago during the times of Maimonides. Okay, there was someone by the name of, the Pasuk says, Adam ki yeh ba'or. And the question is, why does it use the word Adam? There's 5 different languages, 5 different words that are used to describe man. Ish, Adam, Ben Adam, Gever, Enosh, and so on and so forth. So the question is, why is the word Adam being used? The Al-Sheikh points out that a person is afflicted with Tzaraat because he spoke Lashon Hara. Okay? And that is the 3 cardinal sins, no Olam Haba, and so on and so forth. We say that when God told the angel of Gehenna, if someone speaks Lashon Hara, I'll be against him from above and you'll be against him from down below. That's how terrible it is. So why does the Torah use this more esteemed word for Adam, which is a very high level, Adam as he was before the sin? Why use that language to describe man and not Enosh or Gever or Ben Adam? Why particularly the word Adam? So here's a story that was told in Pesach. This happened 1910, exactly 115 years ago. It's a crazy story. Ready, Gila? You're going to love this. There was a body that was found of a Christian boy in a field nearby a brick factory outside of Lukanovka, which is a town outside of Kiev. Look at how relevant this is. Kiev is in the news today with war and blood and whatever it is. The local priest in Kiev accused the Jewish community of killing this boy and taking his blood and using it to bake their matzot for Pesach, which is such a crazy claim. But this is what we call a blood libel. Okay? They even said that they saw a factory worker, a Jewish factory worker named Menachem Mendel Bayless, who was chasing this boy in a field. And the local authorities, who were happy to distract the public from everything that was happening with the czars at the time, right, with their secret police, they were very happy to use this story as a way of creating all kinds of distractions for the locals. So what do? They end up having a massive case, bringing it against this guy. The local community helped hire a very prominent lawyer named Oscar Grusenberg. And they also wanted the chief rabbi of Moscow, Rabbi Yaakov Mazeh. Mazeh, by the way, is an acronym for Mizera Aharon HaKohen. You may be familiar with his great-grandson, a guy who passed away a few years ago, named Jackie Mason. Mason actually changed his name from Mazeh. His great-grandfather was the chief rabbi of Moscow and was in the papers, involved in this case, okay? So during the trial, Mazeh, the rabbi, received a letter from Rabbi Meir Shapiro of Lublin, okay, who was the Rav of Galina, of Galicia, okay, at the time. Okay, now, the prosecution brings in experts, of course, and they talk about the blood libel, and they bring all kinds of articles that prove that Jews use blood, and this and that, and so on and so forth, okay? And then the defense, like, what do you mean? It's not kosher. So, Marat Ayin, even if there's blood on an apple, a Jew won't eat it because we don't want anyone to think that we eat blood, and because it's been going on for so long. So why would we go ahead and allow the murder of a child? Who would want that in their matzah? It's against the law, it's asur, and so on and so forth. So the prosecutor says, your hatred towards Gentiles has mixed you up, right? How do you explain, he says, and how in the Gemara it says that you are called man, you are called Adam, but the Gentiles are not called Adam. Doesn't it say this in your Gemara? He quotes the Gemara to the court, saying, "You see, in your own Talmud, you don't believe that goyim are people, and it right? Doesn't that mean that you consider Gentiles less than men, and therefore you should be able to kill them?" Okay, so this is the claim. So then the defense says, this is a libel. Obviously, it's not true. Everyone turns to Rabbi Mazeh. He says, first of all, the Gemara tells us it's asur to commit, we're not allowed to go ahead and consume the blood of Gentiles. It's a whole sugya in Gemara and Sanhedrin. It's asur. You can't. Killing applies to goyim. You can't kill the goyim. You can't kill anybody. Okay, great. What ends up happening? The Gemara, he says, more than that. He says that you're anyone who understands anything about the law. It says also in the Gemara, "V'atem tzoni v'tzon mariti adam atem." You are my flock, the flock of my pasture. You are men. This means we don't only understand the words of the Talmud, we also understand the words of the prophet. And therefore, he says, let me explain to you the words of the prophet. The pasuk he says, "Ish ki kalel elokav v'nosach hatav." Any man who blasphemes his God shall bear his sin. And this applies also to the Gentiles. Ish asher yakriv et korbano. Any man who offers a sacrifice, the Gemara says this also applies to the Gentiles. Okay, so now what do you say? It says it very clearly that the word ish is used to describe human beings and Gentiles and Jews, and therefore, why would you assume that the Gemara itself excludes goyim from this? So he says to the rabbi, so what do you say now? So the prosecutor says, I don't know, I have to look into it, but what about the Talmud statement by the goyim that are not called man? So he says, let me explain. He says in Lashon HaKodesh, right, a person can be called an ish or an adam. When the Gemara, whenever we say an adam, it's in the singular. Ish is in the singular, but how do you say adam in plural? You can't say adamim. You say anashim, right? So you say anashim. There is no such word as adamim. Now the Jewish nation is called an adam because we are goy echad ba'aretz. We are considered to be one group of people on the planet. When we feel pain, when one person is taken hostage, let alone 59 or 24, whatever the number is right now, Kol Yisrael Arevim said we all feel it. We are goy echad. We are one people. People don't understand what it's like to be a Jew when you have so many Jews as taken hostage. Yeah, we're gonna rip apart the world to save them. We'll do anything and everything we can to help these people get out. So Menachem Beilis is sitting on the stand. The entire Jewish nation, this is 115 years ago, is hearing and reading about this case unfolding every single day, and they're afraid for him. They're praying for him. They care about him. They want him to be okay. They're doing everything they can to help him. But what if you had a Gentile who was sitting in the place, accused of a similar charge? Who would care about him? Who would turn over the world to help him? Who does this? This is why the nations of the world are called an ish, because they're considered themselves separate individuals. This is what Rabbi Mazeh said. He said, but only the Jewish nation could be called an Adam because it is like one body, one man. We're not saying Adam to exclude you and saying you're less than Adam. Pasuk says Ish when it wants to include everybody. Adam is because the Jewish people feel this deep connection to one another. And therefore our Parsha, when it talks about this concept of Adam, right? A man who is violating and speaking Lashon Hara, it's clear, right? It is very clear that you're a member of Klal Yisrael. You're called an Adam. We're supposed to be united. How can you go ahead and speak Lashon Hara? How can you use words that cause hurt and conflict? How can you go ahead and create disunity before the Jews? That kind of person who Aharon, you got to bring him to Aaron. Who was Aaron? Aharon was a Ohev Shalom or Odev Shalom, a lover of peace, pursuer of peace. You got to go see the guy who exemplifies his peace because there's something wrong with you. How can you be someone who is spreading libel, gossip, and so on and so forth? Now, in the 13th century, there were more disputes like this. They were horrible, okay? Maimonides was one of the greatest minds that ever lived, okay? He was a powerful person, okay? There was people who thought that he was dangerous, and they thought that he abandoned the Jewish community, that he was someone who was dangerous. There was all kinds of ferocious exchanges, each side condemnations, excommunications against the other. There were pamphlets and counter pamphlets and sermons and counter sermons. French and Spanish Jews were lost in this controversy. Then in 1232, Maimonides' books were burnt by Dominican monks. Okay, they set him on fire. Maimonides' tombs in Tiberia in the early 1940s were desecrated. They came to his tomb because they were so angry at Maimonides and the things that he wrote. What was going on? What was the connection between the internal Jewish struggle and the Christian burning of Jewish books? It's very simple. The Dominicans took advantage of the Jewish accusations and the Lashon Hara that was lodged against Maimonides. So they could go ahead and use it as a way of creating this whole ruckus. They took advantage of the split within Jews. You understand what's happening? When Jews speak Lashon Hara publicly, we, the Goyim, use it to destroy us. That's the only way they could get to us, right? No one cared. This wasn't a major issue. This, by the way, happened later on also in in the mid 1800s. There was a rabbi named as the Malbim, Rabbi Meir Loeb ben Yechiel Michael Malbim, the chief rabbi of Romania. He was a genius, Talmid Chacham, and so on and so forth. Okay, but there were groups that were more modern, right? These were like the predecessors to the Reform movement. They portrayed him as this genius guy who was living in the old ages and was a delight. It was a relic of the Middle Ages, and he was someone that threatened progress and the spirit of Jews evolving. So they basically ratted him out to the authorities. What did they do on Purim? They sent him a gift of food, which included pork and crabs, and said, "We, the local progressives, are honored to present these delicacies and tasty dishes from our table as a gift to our luminary," meaning saying that this is what he eats. Eventually, in response, the government withdrew its official recognition of the Jewish community. They threw the Malbim and the chief rabbi, they banned them from delivering sermons in the local synagogue. And on Friday, March 18th, 1864, police surrounded the rabbi's house, arrested him and put him to jail, right? He was placed on a ship, taken to the Bulgarian border, where he was released on condition that he could never ever return to Romania. Okay, this is Jews causing harm to Jews, and there's all kinds of stories about like Rav Hirsch and other rabbis. Rabbi Soloveitchik in 1941 was asked was facing charge by the local Jewish community. Right? We say v'hisha amda la'avotenu v'tatzilenu mi yadam. The people that stood up against us, God will save us from their hands. But it says mi yadam, from their hands, not mi yadenu, not from our own hands. It's very clear that evil speech is super destructive, and Jews have been dealing with this for ages, from the time of Miriam to the spies, Meraglim, which is a few months away from now. Words matter. The one thing that we can teach the people around us is to be sensitive. Hey, I don't want to hear negative speech. I don't want to be around people that are spreading gossip and negativity. I want to be in a world where people are using words to heal. God uses words to build. Vayomar Hashem, Vayior, and there was light, Ki Tov, and it was good. Words are meant to be something that help refine reality, not make it more complicated. We want there to be conversation. We want there to be exchange of ideas. We want us to go ahead and let the best ideas win, right? I don't want us to condemn. I want us to communicate. I want us to have open minds. I want us to use language not as a weapon, but as a tool to bring light into a world of darkness. That's what this Parsha is about. And we used to live in a time where it was super clear. Boom, it happened, and you saw its impact on you like mold, right? We don't have that anymore. And now we have a system of internet, of all kinds of things that are open, and people share all kinds of crazy things. It's dangerous. Words do matter. Sticks and stones can break my bones, and words will not only break your bones, it'll burn the world down. Everything that's happening in the world today, it's an expression of our inability to communicate in a way that's meaningful. Do you know why that happens? Because we don't see the other as being someone who is fashioned and created in the image of God. We're so lost in our own selfish narratives. We don't create a space to be inclusive, to be loving, and so on and so forth. So, as we are in the month of ER, the month of ER is an acronym. ER is an acronym for Ani Hashem Rofecha. I am Hashem, your healer. This is the month of healing. This is the month of flow. It's the month where we got the manna from heaven came down this month. We also got the Be'er Miriam, the water, the sweet water that followed the Jews for 40 years in the desert. That happened this month also. This is a month of flow. Every single Hebrew month has a letter that is associated with it. The month of ER is the letter Vav. Vav is connects between what was and what is. It's a connecting month between the month of Nisan, the month of miracles, to the month of Sivan, the month of receiving the Torah. What do you want this month to look like? The way we start, and by the way, if you notice my beard is scruffy because we're not shaving right now, because this is the time of Sfirah. The Rabbi Kiva's students all died because of a lack of kavod to one another, because of sinat chinam. And sinat chinam is always an expression of Lashon, Hara. Words matter. The Jewish people, we're the ones that should be carrying the signs and reminding the world, hey, words matter. But if we are not able to live that message, my friends, we're losing our ability to transform words of hate into words that heal, of words that can bring light into this world. And the merit of us moving forward in time and in the month of Iyar, as we're progressing towards Shavuot, Matan Torah, let us work on choosing words that heal and not words that hurt, words that build and not words that destroy. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom Avarach. Bezrat Hashem. We'll continue the conversation next week. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Bye.